Hello, I'm Deb Knight. Welcome to A Current Affair. He was a teenager when he went to jail, but soon James Vlasakis will be released into a world that will look very different. Vlasakis has been granted parole after serving 26 years for his role in one of the world's most infamous crimes, the Snowtown serial killings. Authorities say the now 45-year-old is a reformed man, but many others fear the worst.
A secrecy order means we can't show you his face, but Australia got a chilling insight into James Vlasakis' sickening crimes when they were depicted on the big screen. Played by Lucas Pittaway in the 2011 movie Snowtown, Vlasakis is one of the worst serial killers in the nation's history.
They were depraved murders.
After a grim discovery in an abandoned bank vault, he was convicted of 4 murders. But tonight, the youngest of the so-called bodies in the barrels killers is on the path to freedom.
We don't believe he is a risk to the community. He obeys directions, he obeys prison rules, he's respectful.
Francis Nelson is the chair of South Australia's Parole Board, which this week made an historic decision. James Vlasakis, shown here arriving for a hearing in the Adelaide CBD on Tuesday, was granted parole. The first step in becoming a free man. Miss Nelson says that as a young teen, Vlasakis became entangled in a murderous web. His stepfather and role model was John Bunting, a depraved killer who, along with accomplice Robert Wagner, murdered victim after victim, telling others they were pedophiles, homosexuals or weak, and after their deaths collected some of their pensions. Vlasakis was groomed to take part in the murders.
He was extremely young at the time that he was drawn into Bunting's offending. He was terrified of Bunting.
The Snowtown victims were subjected to acts of torture, some so horrific, a court ordered some details never be made public.
As they progressed, they involved torture, and as they progressed, some of the killers enjoyed what they were doing more and more.
9 Adelaide News director Jeremy Pudney, who wrote a book on the Snowtown case, was working as a police reporter in May of 1999 when the bodies in the barrels were discovered.
Every day there seemed to be a new turn in the case because even though police had been investigating this series of missing people for a long time, they discovered more bodies than they had missing persons files.
Retired police officer Gordon Drage was one of the first people to enter the Snowtown bank vault.
There was rubber gloves, there were saws, knives and sets and things that we could see lying on top of barrels and items in the room. It was just macabre. So we thought, well, we've got to do this carefully and properly. I remember opening some of the barrels. We could see that, I could see like a human, like a foot. Some of them had clothes on, jeans and a belt and stuff like that. But it appeared that some of them had been just bundled into these things, sort of head first, or were folded in half and just wedged into these drums.
Major crime detectives and forensic experts soon confirming there were 8 dismembered bodies in the barrels. Another 2 bodies were uncovered in the backyard of Bunting's former home at Salisbury North. Remains found in Lower Light also linked to the case, and an apparent suicide in the Adelaide Hills found instead to be the work of Bunting and Wagner. Vlasakis' 4 victims included his half-brother and step-brother, horrific deeds he was coerced into committing by John Bunting.
He poisoned his mind and then eventually coerced him into taking part in 4 of the murders. And James Vlasakis really felt as though he had no choice, and that if he didn't take part, he would be the next person chosen.
When Vlasakis was arrested, he confessed his crimes and turned on the 2 most evil killers. Information he gave police helped convict Bunting of 11 murders and Wagner of 10. In return, Vlasakis was offered anonymity in prison for his own protection, the media banned from showing his face. But the biggest incentive for Vlasakis to talk was the promise that 26 years into his life sentence, he would be eligible for parole. Now that time has elapsed and it's believed he's behaved well enough in prison for parole to be granted. But it's something the families of the victims never wanted to see happen.
It's had a really bad impact on my life. I've never grown up with a big brother that I can talk to, a big brother that I can go to.
Karen's brother, Ray Davies, wasn't killed by Vlasakis, but was the second of the Snowtown victims. His body was one of those found in Bunting's backyard. But Vlasakis is not a free man yet. There's now a 60-day period during which 3 people can seek a review of Vlasakis' parole decision: the Attorney General, the Commissioner for Victims' Rights, or the Police Commissioner.
Our major crime investigators obviously have carriage of the investigation in the first instance. They have strong connections with affected members of the community, different stakeholders and family members.
South Australia's Police Commissioner says the Major Crime Investigation Branch will review the decision before providing him with advice.
We'll look at all of the circumstances and based on the advice I'm provided, which will also take into account community safety, I'll make a decision as to whether we're going to seek a review.
Bunting and Wagner will never set foot in the outside world, with the pair destined for a life behind bars.
Had Bunting had the means, he could have become a cult leader perhaps if he'd got enough followers. So he was certainly was a man who apparently had the ability to convince people that what he was saying was true and that they needed to assist him in his work.
He would have to be one of the most evil people in the history of Australian crime.
Families of the victims will never forgive any of the killers and will be wary if and when James Vlasakis walks free.
I just hope that he has changed a person and that, I just want to feel safe.